Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be hopping on here, Senator Sanders' account, and we're here in Kansas City to rally for Brent Welder. We're going to flip this seat red in November.
Strong, right? There's roughly 4% unemployment, 3.9% unemployment. Do you think that capitalism has failed to deliver for working class Americans, or is no longer the best vehicle for working class Americans?
Well, I think the numbers that you just talked about is part of the problem, right? Because we look at these figures and we say, oh, unemployment is low, everything is fine, right? Well, unemployment is low because everyone has 2 jobs. Unemployment is low because people are working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and can barely feed their kids. And so I do think that right now, when we have this no-holds-barred, Wild West hyper-capitalism, what that means is profit at any cost. Capitalism has not always existed in the world, and it will not always exist in the world.
A couple of other items on your policy agenda that you made very clear throughout: Medicare for all, federal jobs guarantee, and tuition-free public universities and trade schools.
Yes.
Those look to a lot of people like promises of gifts under the tree, but they wonder how they'll be paid for. Now you're in a position to carry these out. How, at a time when the CBO says our debts and deficits are exploding and are going to cripple us, how do you pay for things like that?
It's an excellent question. First of all, I think we need to kind of look at the damaging history, legislative history of what we've done with our taxes. Not only did we have a $400 billion GOP tax cut that could have actually forgiven every single federal student loan in America. We spent that money in December, and we spent it on tax cuts for the corporations and the very rich. But it means reviewing the Bush tax cuts. It means making sure that also that we understand the power of the purse that Congress has, that, when the United States was in the Great Depression, that is when we pursued the New Deal. It was when people precisely said we have the least amount of ability to do this, that we actually committed to an economically ambitious agenda that transformed the future and the course of this nation. And I think that it is absolutely possible, but what it takes is the political courage to do it. To
raise taxes, to roll back the tax cuts.
And not only that, but also understand that that the federal government does have the ability, in the similar way that we had in the New Deal, to spearhead some of this agenda and some of that financing as well.
There you go. That's what Ben Shapiro calls blabbing on for 2 minutes. She directly answered.
Legislation is the Patriot Act and the Iraq War. In order for us to feel safer in our streets, our churches, our schools, and our homes, we must abolish ICE. This is the legislation that we need, and this is the legislation that is going to move us forward as a country.
Okay, so that is a commercial from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Shockingly, she beat one of the most powerful members of Congress, Democrat Joe Crowley here of New York, referred to as the King of Queens. And as you can see right there, one of her platform stances: get rid of ICE.
Michelle Malkin joins us now, host of Michelle Malkin Investigates on CRTV. Michelle, what is this big pull now, get rid of ICE, as if they are the problem as they crack down on illegal immigration in our country?
Yeah, I don't just question the patriotism of the Abolish ICE movement. I question their sanity. And the danger I see is that it's become a mainstream view. Ocasio-Cortez is a member of the Democrat Socialists of America. This is the same group that organized the protest against our Homeland Security Secretary at the restaurant. These are shrieking radicals who oppose any immigration enforcement. It's not just that they want to reduce the 20,000 workforce of ICE or reform it somehow. They want to abolish it. That is clear. And President Trump is absolutely right when he calls out these people and says that they don't want borders at all. What do they propose to replace ICE with? I think the little summary that the Democrat there just gave of why ICE was formed in the first place is missing the crucial context. Remember, guys, that it was after 9/11 that we realized that there were upwards of 600,000 deportation absconders within the country, that 40% of all of the illegal aliens that are here were as a result of visa overstayers, and that there was no interior enforcement to make sure that people that we knew were here illegally were being tracked down and kicked out.
Michelle, the Democratic Party is clearly divided. You've got
I also think that what people are starting to see, at least in the occupation of Palestine, is just an increasing crisis of humanitarian condition.
You use the term the occupation of Palestine.
I think what I meant is like the settlements, places where Palestinians are experiencing difficulty.
Do you think you can expand on that?
I am not the expert on geopolitics on this issue.
Well, that is clear. Here to react, Michael Knowles, host of the Michael Knowles Show. Michael, good to have you with us.
Abby, good to be here.
All right, you listen to the DNC, and that is the future of their party.
That is the future of their party. I think she's a good representative. The Democrats at this point are proudly ignorant and thoroughly anti-Israel, so it makes sense. This poor girl, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, is not making a great first impression, and that is the lasting one. What do we know about her since her campaign hit the national stage? She is a liar. She lied about her upbringing. She pretended to be from a poor part of the Bronx and grow up there. In reality, she grew up in a ritzy part of one of the ritziest counties in the country. I know this because I grew up in the town over from her. So we know that, and now we know that she is proudly ignorant. She has this great line. She says, I don't really know a lot about this, but I firmly believe, frequently wrong, but never in doubt. She uses the slogans that we've seen from Democrats now for the past 20 years. We heard in the Bush era, Bush lied, people died. He didn't. We heard no war for oil. There wasn't one. Now we hear Trump colluded with Russia. There's no evidence of that. And the myth of Israeli-occupied Palestine, which I believe is the country east of Narnia and west of Wakanda, is another example of that. Margaret Hoover in that television program scratched just below the surface, and Ocasio-Cortez had no answer. She didn't know anything. All she had learned was ideology. I think apparently Yorktown High School is not as good as we all thought it was.
So by the way, Michael,
learned these.
To your point, she went to Boston University. She says she doesn't know geopolitics in that interview. She majored in international relations. So obviously this is something that she claims to know a lot about. Kudos to Margaret Hoover in that interview for simply listening and following up with, can you please expand on this?
Not only am I eager to discuss the issues with you, I'm willing to offer $10,000 to your campaign today.
Wow. All right. First, the challenge, and then the rejection. Conservative commentator Ben Shapiro calling for a debate with Democratic Socialist Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He wants to debate her. He wants to debate her on the issues. The New York congressional candidate taking issue with Ben Shapiro, tweeting out, just like catcalling, I don't owe a response to unsolicited requests from men with bad intentions. And also like catcalling, for some reason, they feel entitled to one. Whoa, all right. We called Ocasio-Cortez and we asked her to come on the show. She has yet to respond. But you know who did respond? None other than Ben Shapiro for his first interview since that tweet. Ben, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Making
First of all,
a lot of
I
news
just
here.
want to know quickly.
She's making news with you here. Go ahead.
Quick comment. First of all, how dare you catcall Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez by inviting her on your show? I mean, how dare you? That's sexism in action right there.
Yeah, apparently. What do you think of that, though? I mean, to use that term, which, that's just to remind everyone, a woman's walking down the street and someone, whistles or something, that's catcalling. How is what you did, asking her to have an intellectual debate on the actual issues, how is that in any way relevant or similar to a catcall?
Catcalling must be very weird in Queens. I don't know if they're like construction workers standing on street corners and shouting to women, hey, baby, want to have an hour-long public conversation about trade policy and the vagaries of Viennese economics versus neo-Marxist economics? It gets strange in her district, apparently. But again, this is so many folks on the left jumping to a sort of intersectional defense in which anybody who requests a discussion or a debate must be evil by their very nature, right? I'm a man, therefore I am catcalling her, even though as an Orthodox Jew, I have never catcalled a woman in my entire life. It's catcalling because I guess if I suggest that I want to have a conversation, I'm demanding a response. Well, every request is a request. All she had to say here was, nah, that would have been fine. I mean, she's got that prerogative, but she goes around talking about how...
Though? I mean, that's part of our platform,
absolutely.
right? Everybody's a victim, and we need to take as much money as we can from everybody else to redistribute it. That's what socialism is about. So is she just playing that victim card?
No question. And the fact that she feels the necessity to go to this particular card, right? To play the I'm a female and therefore I'm being victimized. This is like catcalling. The fact she goes there instead of just saying, you know what, I'm not interested in debate. The reason she didn't say the latter is because she didn't want to look like she was afraid. And she's been going around on the internet suggesting that people like Ali Stuckey are afraid of her when they make satire about her, or that people on the right are deeply afraid of her perspective. And then the minute that somebody says, you know what, I'm willing to have a discussion or a debate with you, and not only that, just to make it worth your time, I'll give money to charity or your campaign, then it's all of a sudden catcalling if you suggest such a thing. It's pretty amazing.